Hey, what's going on, family? What it do? It is I, the king they call David, checking in. Once again, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am back. I am back. It is a pleasure to chop up good game with all of my family out there. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you all taking the time to watch my videos and all that good stuff. So today I'm here to talk about pro-black and some stigmatisms and things kind of associated with that. And before I do that, the reason why I'm not doing a video like I normally would, my phone is out of service, it's broke, the thing just shut off, won't even turn back on no more, so I'm using a backup phone to pull you by your coattails and get on your head sometimes. And that's what friends are supposed to do. Like, you know, iron sharpens iron. Our friends' coattails like, hey, bruh, sis, then are they really your friends? Not to me. If I can't be honest and open with you, then I can't really consider you a friend. So I think a lot of us are afraid to lose the relationships with white people that we, as African Americans, cherish so much. White folk who really don't care about us. We know they're not. Obviously they're not. Thousands and thousands of millions of us was killed during World War II to get. Oh, okay, but if I tell you, like, man, you know that us black people were slaves and Jim Crow and all this other, brother. Oh, brother. And, you know, July 4th, whatever, we are not free. We was not free during the time of America celebrating its independence from its mother country of England. So my question was, like, why are we celebrating our master's freedom when we weren't even free during that time? We were still slaves when the master gained his freedom from his master, from his overseer. So why you going out celebrating the white man's holiday? You know, and she got mad, and you know, it's like one of them Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, you know, type of things. As soon as you say Black Lives Matter, here comes somebody, well, all lives matter. Obviously, but in the context that we are speaking of, Black Lives Matter. It was one of them type of situations. So she comments, well, my ancestors were slaves too. When we came to this country, I said, okay, you're right. Your ancestors were slaves. How we were stolen from our homeland, we were packed into the bottom of these ships like sardines and all of that stuff. I didn't go back to the beginning of didn't have to, didn't want to, felt it was unnecessary. No disputing it. Your ancestors were definitely slaves. And even though our slavery is different from their slavery, you know, they were indebted to the company that they worked for. They work for the company pays them a wage that they feel is livable, and usually they stayed in a house or an apartment or some type of building that the company owned. So you had to pay the company that you bought groceries from belong to the company, and you owe them rent and you owe them money for groceries, and they're not paying you enough to live on. You become indebted to the company and you can't leave. Thus, you become a slave. But, so that's the type of slavery that we're referring to when the Europeans crossed the Atlantic. And I told her like this. I said it was my ancestors who came over here. Hundreds of years of free labor that allowed your ancestors to come here. It was my ancestors who was here first, who built the infrastructure, who built the roads, who built the factories that your ancestors worked in. Yes, your ancestors were slaves, but my ancestors' slavery predates your ancestors' slavery. And if it wasn't for the work my ancestors put in, your ancestors wouldn't be able to come down here and work. You're going to lose friends, or people you thought was friends. Perverted spirituality. So why not know your history? And for you to be doing good. It's not enough for you to have a house on the hill and a nice car when your brothers and your sisters and your cousins, and by them I mean the global African family, okay, so when your global African family is doing bad and you doing good, that's not good enough. It's not. What are we doing? Are you serious? This is not an isolated incident. I be trying to tell folk, like, man, with all this stuff going on out here, ain't none of this stuff isolated. And you not safe. You think you safe because you got a nice house and you got a good job with white people? You ain't safe. They might be safe longer than us who are out here speaking the truth, but you're not safe. And don't get me wrong, these black people ain't bad black people. It's just they haven't made that transition to be all the way black because they're afraid of offending somebody. They're afraid of hurting somebody's feelings. They're afraid of what other people think of what them. Just afraid. And the thing about it is, you cannot live your life in fear. If you live your life in fear, you'll always be afraid. And when you're always going to be afraid, you're going to be too scared to take the chances that you need to take to better yourself and your community. Okay, Asians support Asians. White people support white people. East Indians support East Indians. Arabs support Arabs. You know what I'm saying? How come black people can't support each other without it being a problem? Without you offending somebody? I don't give a fuck if I offend you. If I offend you, fuck you. Delete yourself from any one of my social media pages and unsubscribe from my channel. Because I care less. I really don't. Like I say, the Jews remind us every day that there was a Holocaust. Every day. Every day. Well, you know, we was in them gas chambers. You'd be like, thanks. Like we didn't already know that. Really. But they constantly remind us. But it's not a problem when Jews remind us of their history. You know, their oppression. It's okay for white people to talk about their oppression. We was oppressed by England, and we got rid of them bastards. But when black people say, well, we oppressed by white people, oh, get over it, nigga. And then the black people like, shh, stirring up trouble. Don't you be no rabble rouser. You be like, for real? I can't talk about my history without it being a problem? For real? Without somebody getting uncomfortable, good. Get uncomfortable. My friend, when you start talking about your history, I'm like, good. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them. Who cares? I don't care. There's something they need to deal with. There was a young brother in high school, and I believe this is a few weeks ago. The brother came to school dressed as a holiday or something they had when they had to pick a time period that they wanted to